Hey everybody, VMX here, and I told you in the last video that I had quite a few more matches that I had saved up, so here's another video real quick. This is another 10 matches of Pokemon Showdown online competitive battles, and this first battle is against Ophrys, I think. So Ophrys here is going to start off with Kyogre, and I'm going to start off with Vanilla, so that's obviously going to have a little bit of a weather war, but it looks like they won out with their ability going second, Drizzle. I went for Freeze Dry. That would have been super effective, even though it's water type, but they swapped into Shedinja, so I swap into Emboar. So they get their Swords Dance up, but I figure they'll probably stay in, take the Flare Blitz, go down to their Focus Sash, and then I'm going to get hit by something. But they actually decided to Baton Pass the double attack back over to Kyogre, and since I have Emboar out, that's really bad news, and I get smacked by the Water Spout. Not sure what I was thinking staying in there, but I swap back to Vanillix. Now, they know I have Freeze Dry, but I guess they're staying in anyway. Kyogre is very, very fat. Water Spout, of course, is going to do a lot less damage, not just because I'm Ice type, but because the less hit points Kyogre has, the less damage it'll do. So in comes Shedinja again to take the second Freeze Dry. Of course, I can't affect it, so it goes down to the hail. That's just wonderful. So that would have happened last time if not for Kyogre's Drizzle superseding that. So Buzzwole comes in and revenge kills with the superpower. So, it's just sort of a crazy beginning to this battle, but, nothing too terrible, nothing I can't handle. Buzzwole can be really annoying, though. So I send in Mantine, and they decide to swap over to Rotom. So I'm like, wow, we are just swapping all over the place. I had gone for Scald. Rotom takes it pretty good, and I don't get the burn. But, that's okay. Definitely not really wanting to stay into this. I am double weak to electric, so I decide to send in Azelf. So, of course, the Thunderbolt comes out. I was wondering whether it was going to be Thunderbolt or Volt Switch, or, it's usually one of those two with Rotom. So I get the Dazzling Gleam off. It's going to take another one to kill. They go behind the Substitute, and I'm thinking, well, what are they thinking? Do they have Baton Pass or something? Like, they don't have a lot of health to support that. I get another Dazzling Gleam off. I'm outspeeding them, so... And then they use Pain Split, but, they don't get a whole lot back from that, and Dazzling Gleam is easily going to take them out here, so I don't know what the point of all that was with the Substitute and the Pain Split. It wasn't helping them. So Gardevoir comes out, they trace my Levitate, that's like, of course, it's really obvious. They're going to Mega Evolve into their Evening Gown. I went for Fire Blast, of course, because I used it. It missed, and the Hyper Voice is going to take his elf down, because, that's how it goes. So, I send in my Butterfree. They decide to swap back to Kyogre, which is really just fine. There's really only one reason to send out Butterfree, and that's to put something to sleep. Unfortunately, you can't put a whole lot of people to sleep. They immediately swap to Buzzwole. They know I can't pull that trick again. Buzzwole takes the Bug Buzz pretty badly, all things considered. They're going to get a Leech Life off. I'm like, damn, I actually took that pretty well. They got a special defense drop. I went for Air Slash. That's easily going to take the Buzzwole out. Butterfree killed Buzzwole. Amazing. Just spectacular. I love shit like that. So Kyogre comes back in. They're not going to be able to wake up right away, so I get an Air Slash off. Now, they aren't outspeeding me in their sleep, so if they wake up, I'm not going to get a flinch, but they don't have a whole lot of health. So I'm just going to go for the second Air Slash, and that's going to take down the Kyogre. So Butterfree killed an Ultra Beast and one of the most powerful legendaries, although it wasn't Primal Kyogre, but still just a very powerful legendary Pokemon. Gardevoir comes in with the Hyper Voice, obviously looking for a revenge kill. I'm going to get the Sleep Powder off, and now Gardevoir, the Mega Gardevoir. So now we're going after a Mega. We went after an Ultra Beast. We went after a legendary Pokemon. Now we're going after a Mega. So I decided to go for Bug Buzz in this case. It does pretty good damage. It looks like it's going to take, another few. Sleep can last anywhere from like 2 to 5 turns. Gardevoir actually wakes up there, gets off another Hyper Voice, and that's going to take out Butterfree. But man, that Butterfree sure put in a lot of work. So I'm going to send Mantine back out. I'm pretty confident that this thing doesn't have any electric type moves. They seem to be sticking to Hyper Voice. I went for the Scald. It's not the damage I'm looking for, and I don't get a burn. They swap over to Maractus. I went for Scald here because I'm dumb. I forgot that this thing has Storm Drain, so that's going to give them a special attack boost. But it is weak to Air Slash, so I start off with that, and I am outspeeding it, and I get the flinch, so that's going to be a very easy kill with the Maractus there. There's no way it's going to take another Air Slash, even with the leftovers. it's more than half health. So that's bop boop beep. He's done. So the last Pokemon is, of course, the Mega Gardevoir, which is on only a fifth of its health. It gets off a Hyper Voice. Mega Gardevoir is very fast, but it doesn't really have the best defenses. But then again, Mantine doesn't have the best attack. It actually lived that Air Slash. They get off a Psyshock. I'm like, oh my god, is this Mega Gardevoir ever going to die? My last Pokemon is Lunatone. Hyper Voice takes me down to 3% health. But thankfully I had Ice Beam, which is a very reliable move. It's always going to hit unless something happens like with Sand Attack or something like that. So anyway, that was game. That was a really tight battle, just really crazy. Why am I on the wrong side here? I thought I fixed that. Okay, so this next one is versus Chava CG. And they start out with Pheromosa, and I start out with Parasect. I'm like, oh my god. So they immediately just bodied me with Bug Buzz. I wanted to see what they would do. Parasect just sucks. I figured, well, they probably don't have any kind of fire move, but Bug doesn't resist itself, so that was super effective. So I send in Volcarona. They go for Poison Jab. That's going to poison me, but my Fiery Dance is easily going to take the Volcarona out. The Pheromosa out. They must have been something like really just max speed or something. Sawk comes out. I'm going to stick to Fiery Dance. Sawk is not the most bulky Pokemon. He goes for Bulk Up, which is going to raise his attack and his defense. But Fiery Dance is a special attack, so I'm just going to go for another one. No problem there, and that's easily going to take the Sawk out. And I'm getting to that part, where I'm about to go down to Poison, but this Volcarona has just put in real work there. He got a revenge kill on the Pheromosa, and he took out Sawk. So I send in Vanillix. It is now 4-4, just dead even. That's going to start the Hail from Snow Warning. I go for Blizzard. It hits because it's Hail. Of course it hits. They go for Agility, and I'm like, okay, but what can they really do to Vanillix? It's not like they're going to come out with a fire move. I figured it would be Thunderbolt. They're just going for that stab move, and I see they have a Life Orb, so, that's a pretty easy two-hit kill with Blizzard. There's no reason not to use Blizzard in the Hail. So Unpheasant comes in, and I'm like, do you not see me doing this? But they outspeed me, and they put me to sleep, so I'm like, but I wonder what they have to actually attack. If they had an attack that could actually take Vanillix out, I thought they would have just done that instead of put me to sleep. But they actually have Return. I don't know why they didn't go for it. Well, probably because that was a critical hit, and that crit probably mattered. But that was still kind of an interesting thing. They probably expected me to swap there. So I sent out Solgaleo. They decided to U-turn the hell out of there, which is... that's a thing. They're going to send in Meganium. So I'm like, okay, well, I had gone for Stone Edge. Meganium takes that pretty well. Meganium can be a real pain in the ass. It can have Synthesis. It can have Leech Seed. I have Flare Blitz. It doesn't quite take it out. Meganium is very, very bulky. They went for Dragon Tail. That's going to miss. So, Meganium is going to go down to the next Flare Blitz pretty easily. So I got really lucky there. The Dragon Tail would have, of course, I would have resisted it because I'm Steel type, but it would have forced me to swap, and, who knows what I could have wound up, what kind of matchup I could have wound up in. So Thundurus comes in and immediately hides behind the substitute. People in this game really love their substitutes. Stone misses because, of course, it does. And all I was trying to do is take out a friggin' substitute. They went for Thunder Wave to paralyze me. Stone misses again. That's just, it's like, okay, at this point, Solgaleo is not doing too great. I get Thunderbolted. I'm like, okay, that's not terrible. I could take another one. The Stone Miss finally hits, gets rid of the substitute. But I'm thinking, at this point, they got almost all their health back. They're probably going to go behind the substitute, but they actually decide to attack. But then I get fully paralyzed. Like, what the hell? So, there's no way I can take another Thunderbolt. I decide to just let Solgaleo go. He's paralyzed. He doesn't have a good attacking option against Thundurus other than Stone Miss, which, as you can see, is a problem. So I sent out Dragalja. They went for Taunt, probably thinking that I would go for Toxic, but I had actually gone for Sludge Wave. That's going to take off, a really, 3/4 of their health there. They went for Thunder Wave. I'm like, God damn it, with the paralyzation. And, of course, I could fully paralyze. That would have been Sludge Wave. It would have easily killed them. They go behind their substitute. I'm like, the cheek of it. And I get paralyzed. They have 5% health left. They're going to start getting their leftovers back. But I'm like, oh my God, this is annoying. So Thunderbolt, of course, isn't going to do much. I think at this point, they obviously don't really have real options against Dragalja. They're just hoping to get health back while I get paralyzed and I hit their subs and whatnot. and they're hopefully trying to get above 25% so they can do another sub. But thankfully, I break through there, get the Sludge Wave off, and that's it for him. So Unpheasant is the last one. They went for return there. They get a critical. I'm thinking at this point this thing probably has a scope lens because that's the second critical it's gotten. I send out Banette. It can't use return on me. I Mega Evolve. They go for Hypnosis. Thankfully, it doesn't connect. I went for Knockoff, and yeah, it was a scope lens. That's why he was getting all those crits. So I go for Will-O-Wisp. He can't really get easy crits now. It's obviously a physical attacker. Now its physical attack is really very far down. It does manage to put me to sleep and uses U-Turn. U-Turn does nothing, and there's nobody left to swap into, so it's really just a matter of will I wake up and kill it, or will the burn kill it, or will they chip me away with U-Turn? But I have so much health, I'm not really worried about that. And Banette is, immune to his best attacking option. So they decided, they said, that wasn't even a rage quit. They said good game. They knew they had lost, and they didn't want to go through however many more turns it would have taken. So that's game. So this next battle is versus Max GBA, and let's see. So I start off with Tapu Koko, and they start off with Tropius. So I'm going to get the Electric Surge off. Now, Tropius can be really annoying, but they decided to immediately swap over to Heracross, which is a bad idea because I had gone for Brave Bird. Of course, Flying doesn't resist itself. It would be super effective against Tropius, but it's even better on Heracross. So Lycanroc comes in to take the Dazzling Gleam there. It takes it pretty well. They went for Drill Run. I probably should have figured that it had Drill Run or Earthquake or something, but I don't feel too bad about how I did with Tapu Koko there. So I send in my Heracross, which is a Mega. They went for Fire Fang. Thankfully, Mega Heracross has enough defense to take that. And of course, it's Skilling, so Bullet Seed's easily going to take that out. No problem. And since I'm a Mega, it's not like I'm holding like a Choice Band or anything, so I can mix it up. So Tropius comes in. Rock Blast is my best bet. It's always going to be 5 hits. They have a Citrus Berry, so that is going to help them survive the Rock Blast. Otherwise, that would have completely taken out the Tropius. And then they went behind a Substitute. So I'm like, oh my god, do you not see that I'm a Skilling Heracross? So the next Rock Blast is going to easily take the Tropius down. No problem. He's done. So that was just a really crazy choice there. So Como-O comes in. Not much I can do to it. It immediately leads off with a Dragon Dance. I decided to try Rock Blast, but they actually have Bulletproof as their ability. What it does is it stops you from using any moves that are like explosions or gunshots, anything with blast or bullet or anything like that. So I tried Deoxys. He didn't last long. Immediately goes down to Outrage. So I bring in Landorus. He takes the Outrage a little better, but I'm like, I got to get rid of this thing. So I go for the Supersonic Sky Strike with the Z Crystal, and that's going to be enough to take down Como-O. That thing was a really pain in my ass. I am winning, but that was just crazy. So in comes the Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur, of course, does not really have the weakness to fire and ice. So it's like I just used Fly. I mean, it was Supersonic Sky Strike, but it is based on Fly, and that is super effective on Venusaur. You really have to rely on Flying type, Bug type, or Flying type, Bug type, or Psychic type to take down Venusaur. The second Fly is going to take him down. Landorus is on its last legs, but he took down a Mega Venusaur. So they have Landorus, and they bring it in. It intimidates me. But then they decide, you know what, we're going to rage quit here because they probably would have easily taken down my Landorus, but I still had the Mega Heracross and 2 other Pokemon, so yeah, that was GG on that one. Although they didn't actually say GG like those other ones did. And the dogs are going nuts. So this next battle is versus Telepiggy. So I have a Zygarde 10% form lead, and they have Xurkitree. So I'm not, feeling bad about this at all. I went for 1,000 arrows. Obviously, that's going to really do a lot of damage. It's not an instant kill. They hit me with a Hidden Power, immediately take Zygarde down. That must have been Hidden Power Ice. That's just my luck. That just sucks. So I bring in Gengar. Then I'm going to Mega Evolve into Mega Gengar and go for the Sludge Wave to get the easy revenge kill there. That really helped make Gengar a little bit faster. So they bring in Xerneas. I'm thinking, well, they're probably going to go for I thought that they were going to go for Geomancy. They didn't. They actually decided to just attack with Psyshock, so I thought I would get a free Sludge Wave off. Unfortunately, I don't, but when I do get it off, well, I got it off, it wasn't a free one. I do get the Poison. I swap over to Victini because I knew I would take the Psyshock a lot better, and then they're easily going to go down to Poison. So, I thought, well, they're going to go for Geomancy, but that wasn't too bad. So Tornadus comes in. This is the Tornadus in its Therian form. He's going to start air slashing me. That really sucks, but thankfully I don't get flinched. I get the V-Create off. It's going to drop my stats, but it does a lot of damage. So I decided to swap over to Pyukumuku because I really want to save the Victini for something else. They'd go for Air Slash on that, but they're about to go down to their Life Orb. They decided to swap over to Vileplume. I had gone for Counter, but obviously they didn't attack. So now they know I have Counter. They're trying to put me to sleep, so I'm like, that's interesting. So I go for Light Screen. I'm thinking they're probably going to eventually put me to sleep, and then I'll just swap or whatever. But I decided to stay in also because I don't think Vileplume can really hurt Pyukumuku. They go back into Tornadus Therian form. I'm still asleep, and then they swap to Vileplume. I'm like, what are they doing? They're just swapping, and I wake up. I get the Reflect off. They went for Sleep Powder again. I'm like, okay, so now I'm asleep again, but they can't really hurt me, and I have all these shields up, so here comes Tornadus Therian again. I'm still asleep. I'm like, are they going to continue to swap? Yes, now they swap into Rotom Mow. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I wake up, I get a Baton Pass off. I was actually spamming Baton Pass just to swap, and I go to Victini, and then they go back into Tornadus Therian. So I get off the V-Create. That's going to take off most of his health, so that's twice Victini has come in with the V-Create to take off most of my opponent's health. They swapped back over to Rotom Mow. I swapped over to Pyukumuku. I just wanted to give Victini his stats back. They went for Thunderbolt. I probably survived that, just due to his natural bulk. I mean, the Light Screen wasn't up. I put the Light Screen back up. He's going to go down to the Volt Switch, but the Innards Out. Well, the Innards Out really isn't going to do anything there. But, he did his job. I mean, he didn't have any attacking moves other than counter. So Tornadus Therian comes in. I send in Scolipede. I'm like, I'm tired of all this swapping. We need to do something here. They went for Taunt. I don't know quite what they were expecting. I had gone for Rock Slide. Tornadus is pretty bulky in physical defense, so it actually survives that. But I get my speed boost off. They decide to swap over to Vileplume. Vileplume is obviously going to take the Rock Slide a lot better. So I'm like, okay, why are they swapping so much? What is going on? They're just going to let me continually get off speed boost here. I went for Mega Horn. It does pretty good damage. They go for Sleep Powder again. So I'm like, okay, well now Scolipede is asleep. The taunt ends. The thing is, even though Scolipede's asleep, it's still getting those speed boosts. So they need to do something about it. So Hidden Power, I would imagine that's probably Hidden Power Rock. That's what I would imagine. It doesn't do a lot of damage. I'm at 3x speed right now. So pretty much as soon as I wake up, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. I'm wondering why they don't swap over to Therian and get off Air Slash or whatever it has for flying type moves. It's just really weird battle, which is the main reason I wanted to show you. It's just probably the strangest opponent I've ever had. They went for Sleep Powder there while I was still sleeping. I thought maybe they thought I would wake up on that turn, but they're outspeeding me, so that would never work. I don't know what the hell is going on. So I wake up on that turn. I went for Mega Horn. That's going to take them down to a fifth of their health. They went for Sleep Powder again. That's all they want to do is Sleep Powder. They don't want to actually do any damaging moves. It's just crazy. My speed is as high as it's going to go. He went for Hidden Power again. It does a lot of damage that time, no joke. I really, really don't want to swap at the 4x speed, so I'm just hoping that I wake up quickly, but I don't, then I'm going to go down to Hidden Power. Like I said, it was probably Hidden Power Rock. Could have been Hidden Power Fire, too. I'm not really sure. So I sent the Eviolite Scyther and went for Bug Bite to take down the Vileplume. That thing is, it wasn't throwing out a lot of damage, but it was annoying, so in comes Tornadus Therian. I decide to swap over to Victini because I can just get off another V-Create and it's easily going to kill him. The Air Slash is not going to flinch me because that was me swapping into it, and then he gets off the second Air Slash, also doesn't flinch me. V-Create's going to take down Tornadus, although at that point it almost didn't matter. He was ready to go down to his Life Orb anyway. So Rotom Mow comes in. I swap over to Mega Gengar because I just want to get him his stats back. He'd gone for Thunderbolt. I'm pretty much sacking off the Gengar at this point. He did his job. If he was able to get off a Sludge Wave, that would have been cool, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I put Victini back in. He swaps over to Delcatty. He really just doesn't want to lose his Rotom Mow. So I get off the V-Create. Takes off 3/4 of their health. and I swap back to Scyther to give Victini his health back. Like, they're really protecting the hell out of this Rotom Mow. So they get Thunder Wave off, and then they swap back to Rotom Mow, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, what is going on? So I get fully paralyzed. That kind of sucks. I mean, obviously I'm going to go for a Bug-type move. They went for Volt Switch. I actually take that pretty well, of course, thanks to the Eviolite, and, out comes Dokkaty. So I get the knockoff there. That's going to kill him. Looks like I had a Life Orb, no big deal. All that's left is this Rotom Mow that they had worked so hard to protect. They get a Thunderbolt off. I just barely live that. I get Bug Bite off. They just barely live that. I'm like, okay, well, they're easily going to kill my Scyther, but then I still have Victini. And then they forfeited. They just did not want their Rotom Mow to die. Maybe it's their favorite Pokemon. Maybe Telepiggy's favorite Pokemon out of all 800 and some odd Pokemon is Rotom Mow, and he didn't want to see it die because he was protecting that thing, and he didn't want to see it go down. So that was just really crazy. So this next battle is versus Baka Shinigami, and they have a Steelix lead, and I have Alolan Marowak. So this is a terrible matchup. I figure they're probably going to swap, but they actually stay in and Mega Evolve. I went for Flame Charge. Mega Steelix has a lot of bulk, so he takes that pretty well, and he went for Earthquake, so I'm like, oh, God, that sucks. That really sucks. I wish Alolan Marowak had better attack on that one. Flame Charge really should have bodied it. So I bring in Poliwrath. He does a lot better with Focus Miss. He actually hits. Steelix goes down, so hey, Poliwrath with the revenge kill. So Azelf comes in. I'm not staying in for that. I send in Genesect. Now this is, which form of Genesect is this? I forget. Doesn't actually say on the chat thing either. So they swapped over to Blissey. Going for Bug Buzz, that's not going to do much, That's Blissey's a special wall, and you really need physical attacks to take it down. But I have Extreme Speed. Unfortunately, Extreme Speed is not very good. They get off the Flamethrower. I live it, which is nice. But unfortunately, I really can't do anything to Blissey. So I send in Terrakion. Terrakian's obviously going to take the Flamethrower really well. It is part Rock type, so it's like no big deal on that one. They're going to swap over to Glaceon. I'm thinking, why? I had gone for close combat. That would have killed Blissey. It's easily going to kill Glaceon. I guess they didn't have a good swap, and they just really wanted to save their Blissey on that one. Azelf comes back in, so I'm like, okay, we got to swap. So I bring Genesect back in. This time I get another special attack boost. They get off a nasty plot. They probably should have just attacked there. Unfortunately, they get off the Dazzling Gleam, but fortunately, I actually lived it. I get off the Bug Buzz that absolutely annihilates. One shot kills the Azelf, and they decided they don't want any of this, and they quit. So that's another rage quit. So his next battle is versus Draconis Star. This is a really, really cool one. Wait till you see this guy. So I have Alomomola. They have Articuno. They went for Freeze Dry. That's super effective on water type specifically. I'd gone for Knockoff. Thankfully, Alomomola just has a ton of hit points, so I was able to tank that. But I figured maybe we can save it for later, so I bring out my Alolan form Muck. They went for another Freeze Dry. Muck takes that a lot better. Muck is, Alolan Muck especially is just such an amazing Pokemon, such an MVP. So they messed with the Hurricane. I went for Fire Punch. It does okay damage, but most importantly, I get the burn, which is really great. So Articuno at this point is pretty useless. They went for Roost. They're trying to get some health back, but they don't really have any physical attack. I decided to get off a Curse because there's absolutely nothing Articuno can do to Muck, even normally, and now with their physical attack there's just nothing they're going to do. So they're going to just continue to try with Freeze Dry. It doesn't do very well. Fire Punch actually does a lot better this second time around, taking off about half of their max health instead of like the quarter that it did before. So they swap over to Scrafty. Scrafty takes the Fire Punch a lot better. It's about 24.5% there. So I'm wondering, well, what is this thing hitting? It probably has a fighting type move. So I swapped over to Mimikyu, expecting like close combat or something. They actually went for Knockoff, which is going to get rid of my Life Orb and my Disguise. So that kind of sucks, because I was hoping for close combat and then I can get up a free Swords Dance. They swap over to Quillfish. That's going to intimidate me, and Mimikyu is of course physical. I went for Play Rough against Scrafty, but that was Quillfish that took it, and I get the attack drop, but it's no damage at all. So I swap back to my Muck. So they're going for Toxic Spikes. I'm like, why didn't they do that before I swapped Muck in? He would have picked them up, no problem. But whatever, it's no big deal. And then they swapped to Scrafty. There's a lot of swapping in this battle, you guys. But this is a really good one. So I went for Knockoff. That's going to get rid of their leftovers, which is somewhat helpful. And they're going to start with the bulk up. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. We're just setting up here because you think I can't do anything to you. But I get off the gunk shot, and that's going to poison them. And without their leftovers, they're just going to be basically bleeding to death at this point. There's not much they can do. So I swap in Mimikyu. Mimikyu's going to get poisoned. There's that high jump kick. Or I thought it would be close combat. It was high jump kick. Thank fuck it was high jump kick. If high jump kick fails for any reason, including missing or being ineffective or hitting a protect or anything, you take massive recoil damage, and that's what took him down. So they send in Quillfish. I send in Muck. They went for liquidation. It does okay damage, but like I tell you, this is one of my favorite battles of all time. So they're going to continue with the liquidation here. I went for knockoff. That's going to get rid of their black sludge, so they can't, just get that little bit of health back each time. And I want to really save Muck, so I send a Obamasnow because I know they're going to go for liquidation again. It doesn't do much, even though that was a critical. I mean, that was really not much of all, and I still have my leftovers. So now they bring in Sawsbuck, which is really interesting. I do a Wish. See, because really what it is, like I said, Muck is the real MVP here. I want to heal the Muck, so I got off the Wish, swapped over to my Alolan Muck. They went for Horn Leech. He's going to take that really well, and then the Wish, of course, is going to heal Muck. And I'm thinking, is there any possible way they're going to stay in? There's no way. And then they stayed in. They use Horn Leech. I'm like, Sawsbuck is a pure grass type. Muck is going to just annihilate it with Gunk Shot. Even if it had 100% health, there's no way it was going to live that. Muck is a beast in that case. So there he goes. So Quillfish comes out and intimidates my Muck. Again, I feel like that's like the fourth or fifth time that happened. I swap over to Alomamola because I'm like, well, here comes liquidation. We're doing that again. Of course, Alomamola is really bulky in hit points and defense. So they went for Pain Split, which actually is really effective because Alomamola has so many hit points that losing a little bit just heals Quillfish so much. So I decided to go for Scald just to get a burn off, and I do get the burn the first time. There we go with the Toxic Spikes again. So I'm just going to continue with Scald. I'm actually going to speed this part up a little bit because it takes a while, because it's just me using Scald, I'm using Pain Split, and it's just back and forth, back and forth. So finally, I decide I got to kill this thing with a Psychic move. I bring in my Alolan Raichu. Thankfully, the Liquidation isn't going to do much because he's burned, and Liquidation is a physical move. Raichu doesn't have a lot of hit points or defense, so I'm glad for that. So I use the Psyshock. That's easily going to take Quillfish down. So Quillfish, like I said, really great Pokemon, but just annihilated by Psychic type. So in comes Chestnut, and I'm like, did you not just see me use Psyshock? They get off the Spiky Shield, just, I guess, hoping to just get a little more poison damage, or maybe thinking that I would swap, or I don't know, what, or maybe that I would... there was no way I was going to do anything but Psyshock. So I get off the Psyshock the second time around, takes off most of its health. They start setting up. I thought for sure they were going to kill my Raichu, so now I'm thinking, can I possibly 6-0 this guy? So my Raichu, I have to swap out if I want to 6-0. I bring in the Muck. He's going to pick up the Toxic Spikes. They went for Spiky Shield, but I had swapped, so that's pretty much just getting a little back from their Black Sludge. But, you know, whatever. I'm sorry, their leftovers. I'm using Black Sludge. So they went for Spiky Shield again to block the Gunk Shot. I know it has Spiky Shield. It's like its signature move. There's no way I'm going to do any kind of attack that has a physical contact. They went for Drain Punch. I'm like, okay, that's cute. Here comes Gunk Shot. Boppo Beepy's done. There's no way Chestnut. So I have an Articuno and one other Pokemon to deal with. I haven't lost anything. I'm smelling my second ever 6-0. So then they send in Tapu Fini, and I'm like, oh, they have 2 legendaries. That's great. So Ice Beam doesn't do much. They're obviously hoping to freeze me. Gunk Shot does very well there because it is Fairy type. All the Tapus are Fairy type. They decided to swap over to Surf, obviously hoping for more damage, but the second Gunk Shot is easily going to take the Tapu Fini down. So, obviously, I know their last Pokemon is an Articuno, and I know exactly what to do to take care of it, especially since it's burned and it's on pretty low health. So, I swap over to Tornadus Etherean form. I know I can take a Freeze Dry, especially since it's burned, and it doesn't seem to have any other type of ice moves like Ice Beam or Blizzard or anything. I have Heat Wave on this thing that's going to take the Articuno down, and hey, my second ever 6-0 victory on Pokemon Showdown. I felt really good about that. That was a fantastic battle, and I got to thank Draconis Star for being an excellent sport, not getting frustrated, not saying anything abusive in the chat, not rage quitting. That's just great. So, this next one's versus Blastonite 1111. So I have an Aerodactyl lead on this one. Aerodactyl's just great, and they have Rampardos, so I'm like, this could go a few different ways. It could be a bad matchup for either of us depending on the movesets. I decide to Mega Evolve into the Bearded Dragon right away. I actually have Aqua Tail on this. It's going to do a lot of damage. They went for Head Smash. Thankfully, they missed that, so I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. They know I'm going to go for another Aqua Tail, so they swap into Blastoise, who's obviously going to resist that. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. They're obviously going to go for like Hydro Pump or Scald or something. So I decided to send in Huntail because that's my best choice there. It was Scald, and they actually get a critical, but I take it pretty well. All things considered. So I got off the Shell Smash with the Wide Herb, which is going to give me my double attack, special attack, and speed. And they went for Roar. I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't do that again, really. Not with the Wide Herb, anyway, because the Wide Herb is gone forever. So I get Scolipede here. I went for Poison Jab. It's my best option to just try and poison him. Blastoise is just really fat. They're going for Scald again. I'm like, well, let's see what happens. So I get a speed boost. I'm obviously already faster than it, but let's see if I can get him to swap or if I can get him poisoned or something. It's not going to work. The next Scald's going to take me down, but I got him down to about 40% of his health, so the First Blood to Blastonite here. So I send in Electivire. I'm thinking they're definitely going to swap, so there's no sense going for an electric type move. They swap it to Trump Shoes. I had gone for Ice Punch. That does pretty well. Trump Shoes is really bulky. I went for Wild Charge this time around because they're not going to swap now. It does even better. Unfortunately, this thing has Earthquake, and Electivire just gets bodied by that, so bop boop beep there. So I sent in Aerodactyl. I know he can easily outspeed Trump Shoes. They swapped over to Blastoise. I had gone for Stone Edge. That's fine with me because Blastoise just needs more damage on him. We just need to kill this thing. So I went for the Aqua Tail there because I just wanted to end it. And I thought he might swap too. So in comes Meloetta. So I'm like, okay, Meloetta's no problem. They went for Psyshock. Aerodactyl deals with that pretty well. I had gone for Hone Claws because I figured there's nothing they're going to do that's going to take off more than half my health. The second Psyshock is going to take me down to 18% health, but I'm going to get the Aqua Tail off. It was really my only option. And then I decided to swap over to Huntail because I'm like, well, here comes another Psyshock, right? And I just wanted to save the Aerodactyl in case I needed a revenge killer later on. I go for Sucker Punch. They just live on 2% health. That just really sucks. Psyshock's going to take Huntail down. So like I said, I saved Aerodactyl to be a revenge killer because he's just that fast. I bring him in here. But I get outsped, and it's just like, at this point, I realize this Meloetta definitely has a Choice Scarf. So I bring in Butterfree, because Butterfree actually has really good special defense, all things considered. I take the Psyshock pretty well, and also being part Bug type really helps there too. So that's gonna easily take him out there, and in comes Rampardos. So I'm thinking, okay, this is fine. I went for Air Slash. He didn't have a lot of health, and that's gonna easily take Rampardos down. So this is the second time you're seeing Butterfree kill multiple Pokemon. In comes Maul. He's gonna get the Intimidate off. At least I know I'll outspeed it. It's a Mega Maul, but it's still one of the slowest Pokemon out there. I decided to go for Air Slash. It does a lot of damage, you guys, and I get the flinch. I was actually surprised it did that much damage. So I'm thinking, damn, there's like probably no defense EVs on this thing at all. The second Air Slash takes them down to 19%. They get a Fire Fang off. I figured they probably had either Fire Fang or like Iron Head or something that would take me out really easily. So my last Pokemon is Porygon 2. I have to deal with this Maul, the Trump Shoes, and one other Pokemon, but Porygon 2 is great. It's got almost all the utility that a Porygon Z has, and it can, of course, run Eviolite. So I take the Maul out with Tri-Attack. Trump Shoes comes in, easily goes down to a Tri-Attack, so it's like, who's going to win? Is Drifblim or my Porygon 2? Unfortunately, it's a Ghost type, so I can't use Tri-Attack, but they also can't use their Ghost type moves. So I went for Ice Beam. It is part Flying type. They're going to get some health back from the Citrus Berry, but I'm like, okay, I got this. Acrobatics isn't doing anything. Ice Beam is doing like all the damage. And Porygon 2 just really, Porygon 2 and Butterfree were the champions of that battle. So that's game. Alright, so this next battle's versus Liquid, I guess. Maybe they're trying to type Liquid. So I have a superior lead here, and they have Absol. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. We don't interact with each other at all. They Mega Evolve into the My Chemical Romance Absol. They have Ice Beam. I'm like, okay, I guess they do have something super effective. I had gone for Leech Seed. I didn't know they were a Mega. Mega Absol, of course, has Magic Bounce, which doesn't matter because Absol's immune to it anyway. So I sent out Mean Shao because I know I can't take another Ice Beam, and I think maybe I could use Superior later on in the battle. So Mean Shao, obviously, is super effective. They don't want none of that. They sent in Tornadus. I knew they would swap, so I got off a free Swords Dance there. So I'm like, okay, but what can I actually do to Tornadus? So they go for Hurricane, unfortunately. I thought I might be able to outspeed it, but no, obviously not. So I set in my Magnezone, thinking I can get like maybe a revenge kill here. They swapped to Aegis Slash. Now, Aegis Slash doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, and Electric is not one of them, but that did so much damage. Like, oh my god, I can't believe it. And I get the Paralyze off. So they go for Shadow Sneak. I'm like, damn, let's do it again. Magnezone is just bodying this Aegis Slash. Aegis Slash is one of the best Pokemon out there, too. So Conkeldurr comes in. I'm thinking, I don't want to get hit by a fighting type move, so let's send in Superior, because I'm thinking here comes Drain Punch or something. I was right, it was Drain Punch. And they get burned from their Flame Arm, so I'm thinking they probably also have Facade or something. But then they swap over to Absol. That's going to take the Leaf Storm pretty badly, but I'm like, well, definitely they're going to do Ice Beam. At this point, I have very little health, but I still think I could use my Superior, so I swapped into Magnezone. Obviously, that's going to resist the Ice Beam that was obviously coming. They went for Knockoff. That does a lot of damage, and that's going to get rid of my Choice Specs. Of course, that means I can do any move I want. I went for the Thunderbolt, and yeah, that's why Thunderbolt was doing so much to Aegis Slash. So Keldeo comes in, gets off the Skull. That's easily going to kill Magnezone, and so that was pretty much a revenge kill from Keldeo, but whatever. So I sent in Superior because I figure maybe I can outspeed it. I wound up outspeeding it. Leaf Storm it just bodies it. I'm going to go down to my Life Orb, but I told you I had a use for Superior. I told you there was a reason for saving him. So now it's dead even. I sent in Savali, they sent in their Conkeldurr. It's kind of dead even, but their Pokemon's burned. I went for Multi-Attack. It doesn't do a lot. They went for Ice Punch. That definitely does better. But with the burn, it's almost comparable, but not quite. So I swap over to Rotom Frost because I think they're definitely going to go for Ice Punch again, and I was right. So now I have a couple of options here, but Conkeldurr's really hard to go around. I decided to just roll the dice and go for Blizzard. Thankfully it hits, and that's finally going to get rid of the Conkeldurr. So I have two more Pokemon. Tornadus I figured wasn't going to come in because, dude, Ice type, what the hell? He gets off the Superpower, but that's not enough. Rotom Frost is pretty bulky in defense, so I miss on the Blizzard, so I'm like, well, here comes Superpower again. But they got an attack drop. They might survive it, but then they swapped over to Weezing. So I had gone for Volt Switch, which actually criticals, so that's pretty amazing, and I swapped into Silvally. This is Silvally Dragon form, by the way, in case you can't tell from the sprite. So I went for Iron Head just to see if I can flinch the Weezing. I don't get the flinch. They get a Sludge Bomb off, which I take pretty well, but I get poisoned, so that's shitty. I'm definitely going down on the next turn no matter what, even if they swap. So I'm just like, let's just try Draco Meteor, and I missed! But then they went for Toxic Spike, so I'm like, well, I died of poison anyway, but they're thinking, I don't need to hit him, I can just put out Toxic Spike. So Rotom Frost comes out. I'm not going to get poisoned, obviously, because he has Levitate. I'm going to Volt Switch. I thought I'd kill the Weezing there, so I bring out Garchomp. Now, this is a Mega Garchomp, but I definitely don't want to Mega Evolve him unless I know I can outspeed it, because Mega Garchomp loses a lot of speed. So I went for Fire Blast. It actually takes it. I went for Stone Edge. That finally takes the Weezing down. Stone Miss, I'm sorry. So Tornadus Therian is the last Pokemon, and I know if I hit it with a Stone Edge, I know I'm going to get outsped here, so let me just Mega Evolve to get the higher defense. Then they miss Hurricane. I get off the Stone Edge. It doesn't fucking kill. I'm like, damn, let's see what's going to happen here. So they get off the Hurricane. I actually lived it. Will Stone Miss hit? No, of course it won't. That's why I locked myself into Outrage instead, and that is game. There was no way I was going to take the chance with another Stone Miss. No way. So this next battle is versus Tolmak. So this is a crazy one. I have a Typhlosion lead. They have Kyurem. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I went for Eruption because I'm like, hey, it's not often Typhlosion gets to outspeed anything and get that, that Eruption off. It does half their damage. They went for Outrage. I can't take another one, so I decided to swap into Tapu Bulu because obviously they're locked into Outrage, and that's a Fairy type, so there's no way that they can really do anything there. So unfortunately that does unlock them from using Outrage. It would be cool if they were still locked into it. So they swap over to Obamasnow. Obamasnow. I'd gone for Superpower anyway, so that was actually a really bad swap on their part because Obamasnow gets really hurt there, but I definitely don't want to get hit by any ice moves. They went for Ice Shard. I was like, I thought I was going to go down to like Blizzard or something. Wow. So I go for the second Superpower, and that's going to take out Obamasnow. Obama. So, told you it's a crazy battle. So now they send in Beautifly. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Beautifly is terrible, so I swap over to Typhlosion, expecting a bug type move, or they'll just set up with Quiver Dance, which is what they did. So I'm like, okay, this is no problem, because there's not a whole lot that a Beautifly can do to a Typhlosion. I went for Fire Blast. That's going to completely body him, and Beautifly goes down, so that's no problem. Bop, beep, and he's done. So, they send in Garchomp. I'm like, well, let's see. Is it going to be a Mega? What's the situation going to be? I decided to send in Tapu Fini just in case it leads off with like an Outrage or Draco Meteor. They actually went for Earthquake. Tapu Fini takes it okay. Earthquake is just one of those moves that's annoying. So they sent in Venusaur. I'm like, well, is this going to be their Mega? I had gone for Moonblast. Obviously, Venusaur is going to take that pretty well, considering it is a Poison type. So now I swap over to Tapu Bulu. So that's right, I have two Tapus. So the Venusaur is their Mega. I now know that the Garchomp is not. They tried Leech Seed. That's not going to work. The Grassy Terrain's up, so, whatever. That's just not going to work. So I get a Mega Horn off. Man, this Venusaur is annoying. So they go for Hidden Power. That could be Hidden Power Ground. It could be Hidden Power Poison. There's no way it's Hidden Power Poison. So I get another Mega Horn off, thinking, well, they're going to kill me here. They went for Earthquake, figuring that I would swap. Earthquake does nothing to Tapu Bulu. So I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to get another Mega Horn out. Will they swap? They don't. So I'm actually able to take down the Mega Venusaur there in a matchup that I was just sure I was going to lose. So that was just really crazy. So then they sent in Dodrio, and I'm like, okay, let's swap over to Lord Helix. So Lord Helix has risen. They went for Brave Bird, which is about what I figured. Lord Helix, being a rock type, is going to take that pretty well. And I'm thinking, are they going to stay in for the rock type move? What's going to happen? They decide to swap over to Kyurem. I'm like, oh, that's actually just fine. I'd gone for Shell Smash anyway. I think they knew I would go for Shell Smash, and they wanted a safe swap. And but I don't know what Kyurem's plan is. It's not like Ice would work on me. So I went for Earth Power there. That's going to give them a special defense drop, and they locked themselves into Outrage. So I'm like, oh, okay, but there's no way they're going to take another Earth Power. So I went for Earth Power again, and that's going to take down the Kyurem. So they managed to damage Lord Helix, but he's still there. So Dodrio comes in. I'm like, boom, Ice Beam, bop, boop, beep, he's done. Dodrio has like no special defense at all. And their last Pokemon is Garchomp, and I'm able to easily take him down with the Ice Beam. And then, you know what? This is my third 6-0 victory on Pokemon Showdown, and I did not even realize that I was a 6-0 until the very end when I won, and I was like, wait a minute, I didn't lose anything, because I was looking at which Pokemon did I not even use, and then I saw, like, wait a minute, none of them fainted, holy shit. So here's the final battle. This is versus Greed Allen, such interesting names on Pokemon Showdown. So I have a Carnivine lead. Carnivine's kind of interesting. They have Decidueye. I tell myself, it's a ghost type, it's a ghost type, it's a ghost type. Doesn't matter, they swap right over to Yveltal. So I'm like, okay. I'd gone for a knockoff anyway. That's going to get rid of their Assault Vest. Oh, I'm so glad I got that off, because that can be really annoying. So I decided to swap over to Rampardos. They had gone for Oblivion Wing, which is about what I figured. Rampardos is, of course, going to resist that. They decided to U-turn the hell out of there. I think they did more damage, like slightly more damage with U-turn than they did with Oblivion Wing. So Meganium's going to come into the Rock Slide, but that did a lot of damage. Rampardos' attack is really good. And Meganium's more of a special wall. So I sent in Genesect. This is the Fire Genesect. This I do remember. That's why I sent him in. See, basically, Genesect is kind of like the bug version of Arceus. He holds different items, and it makes his moves, like, instead of Judgment, it's Technoblast. So that's a Fire-type Technoblast. So in comes Ampharos. It's immediately going to Mega Evolve into Mega Ampharos. So obviously, Technoblast is going to be less effective than it would have been had he not Mega Evolve. They go for Agility. Ampharos is really slow, so now it's probably going to outspeed me, and it does, so they go for Thunderbolt. So I had actually gone for Bug Buzz in that case. It does pretty good damage, because I'm like, well, we just need a stab move that's going to do some damage. I swap over to Carnivine, thinking there's going to be another Thunderbolt, but they actually went for Dragon Pulse, and that does more damage than I'd like to take, and then they outspeed me, and Carnivine goes down to the second Dragon Pulse, so that kind of sucks. So I sent in Miss Magis. Miss Magis is often the bane of my existence. Let's see if I can put her to some good use. Unfortunately, I get kind of bodied by Thunderbolt. Shadow Ball doesn't take Ampharos out. I think I could probably take another Thunderbolt. There it goes. I take it. I live it just barely, and then I'm paralyzed. But thankfully, I don't get fully paralyzed on that same turn. I get the Shadow Ball off, and that's at least going to kill the Mega Ampharos. But Dan, how come every time I get to deal with Miss Magius, it's horrible? So Suicune comes in. Suicune's just bulky as hell. I know I can't do anything. It uses hidden power. I have no idea which hidden power that was. So I sent in Cinccino. Cinccino is just amazing. They decided to swap over to Decidueye, maybe thinking that I would go for like Tail Slap or something. I actually went for Bullet Seed, which Decidueye does resist, but it's still not that bad damage, especially that first hit being 9% damage there, so that wasn't too bad. So I go back to Genesect Burn, thinking that they're going to do like Leaf Blade or something like that. It does turn out to be Leaf Blade. That was actually a critical, so yeah, Genesect's just great. I get the Techno Blast off. They live it because Decidueye is also a beast. So the Spirit Shackle is going to take me down there, but he did his job. I'm not feeling too bad about that. So I'm a little behind here, but I bring in Blastoise. So Blastoise is my Mega. I Mega Evolve him immediately, and I went for Dark Pulse. That's easily going to take Decidueye out. So now it's dead even, except they've seen all of my team. They know I have the Mega Blastoise, the Cinccino, and the Rampardos. I know they have Yveltal and Suicune, but there's one Pokemon out there that's a mystery. So I decided to Dragon Tail to see if I can find out what it is, and I do. It's Reshiram. So I'm like, oh, okay, so now I can come up with something. So they go for Draco Meteor there, and they miss. So I'm like, that's great. Hydro Pump, that does less than half health, and they have leftovers, but hey, they're obviously going to go for Draco Meteor again, right? Nope. They go for Roost. I'm like, what are they playing at? So I go for another Hydro Pump. I get a higher damage roll. It's still less than half, and they go for Roost. I'm like, are we just going to continue this? Hydro Pump does not have a lot of PP. They're waiting for me to miss, obviously, and then I do miss, and then they don't miss on the Draco Meteor. But I'm like, okay, I take it, and they have a special attack drop, so I'm going to use Dragon Tail. I'm going to get them out of there. I don't even care about the special attack drop. I just don't want to deal with this thing right now. Suicune comes in, and I guess that must have been Hidden Power Grass, because that takes down Blastoise. So I send in Cinccino. I'm wondering, will they stay in knowing that I have Bullet Seed? They do. Oh, wow. There's no way Suicune's going to be able to survive the Bullet Seed from skilling Cinccino, right? Except it barely loses 6% health. They went for Hidden Power, probably Grass. Then they decide to swap into Reshiram. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I am locked into Bullet Seed, and Reshiram is, of course, going to resist that. But you know, whatever, let's see if it can do any kind of damage. It's going to be about 10% health, so maybe a little more like 11% health. Really not that great, so I obviously have to swap because, I mean, he's holding a Choice Scarf. So they went for Blue Flare. Thankfully, that misses because I really don't want the Rampardos to be burned, even if he would have resisted that. Draco Meteor also misses, so luck is on my side. I finally got a Rock Slide off on this thing. And Reshiram goes down. So all I have to deal with is Yveltal and Suicune. I figured Suicune would come in and use Hidden Power Grass, so I swapped over to Cinccino. They actually went for Scald. Oh, I was hoping for Hidden Power Grass. So that does a lot of damage, but I went for Tail Slap on that turn. That's easily going to take the Suicune down. All I have to deal with is the Yveltal. I think, well, if it takes down Cinccino, which it probably will, I can just do a Rock Slide. So I went for Tail Slap just to get some chip damage off on it. And boy, that does a lot more than I thought, especially that there was a critical in there, so that's just amazing. The Dark Pulse is going to take down the Cinccino, but I still have my Rampardos, and it still has green health, although it's only a little more than half. So they went for Dark Pulse, though, and unfortunately I wasn't able to take that. So, good game either way is what I said right before they went for that last term, because I thought, I don't know what they have. I didn't know that they had Dark Pulse. Well, I knew they had Dark Pulse, but I didn't know whether Rampardos could take it or not, and obviously he couldn't. So just, really great game right up until the very end. So that's going to be it. I'll see you guys real soon with more. I'm going to have another one real soon, because let's see, how many more battles do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I actually have another 10, so I can narrate another one right now. I'm not going to, because my voice is tired, but I'll see you guys real soon with more content.